this is Dave Brown. I'm here with Corbin Church. Welcome to an episode of the Tech Transfer Podcast. And we're talking today about entrepreneurship and student entrepreneurship a little bit. Corbin, if you had to explain to people in a nutshell what you do professionally, what would you say?
I am a lifelong entrepreneur, Dave. Started my first business when I was 13 years old, and I have never received a paycheck from anybody. I've signed all of my paychecks my entire life.
Fantastic. And I know of a bunch of companies. Do you know off the top of your head how many companies have you launched?
I'm a Babe Ruth style guy, so unfortunately, 70, 80, 90, maybe 100. I've built and sold 8. So those are the ones that I prefer to talk about. But, Babe Ruth had more strikeouts than home runs, but was the home run king. So I'm not in that league. I don't mean to compare myself to Babe Ruth, but a lot of at-bats, and a few of them made it over the wall.
And you have a few doing pretty well right now. So we'll talk about maybe one or two of those. And you're an adjunct professor at BYU in the business school. You're very popular with the entrepreneurship students there. You have a course that's pretty big. How many students are in there?
350 students. Entrepreneurism 101.
Okay, great. Very popular course. We have people from there who come over to visit Tech Transfer and look at technology sometimes. So as I think about it, I think you have one of the best approaches to working with university tech transfer. How would you describe your philosophy or your approach?
I love as I teach, I have a lot of eager entrepreneurs who want to go out and conquer the world, who want to get ahead of the game and be able to do a lot of good in the world once they create those resources. But they don't have an idea. So many people come to me and say, Brother Church, how do I become an entrepreneur? You got to have an idea. And so the TTO is amazing, because if you jump on the website, BYU Tech Transfer Office, there is a whole list of ideas. Many of them come with a patent. And so it's like acceleration into entrepreneurism. It's that one big hurdle at the beginning. There are still more, but it's one big hurdle at the beginning of what's my idea that you can solve pretty readily by partnering with the Tech Transfer Office.
Yeah, and in speaking with people in our entrepreneurship program, not just yourself, but others, they say the same thing, that students they're great at executing, doing sales and plowing through business functions, but coming up with the initial idea is a challenge. So if we can provide that, that's fantastic. In your startups, you've also involved student entrepreneurs. So I'm thinking of SGlass, for example. How do you treat that?
Going back to what you said just a moment ago, we do have a subset of young adults that is so unique. We have a population right here in Provo. We have the greatest concentration of missionaries anywhere in the world, arguably. We have the greatest concentration of summer sales associates right here in Provo. Yeah. Those aren't perfect. They're not absolutes, but talk about two demographics that are amazing groups of young people who have better than average sales skills. I would argue that Jesus is the hardest sell in the world. I mean, lowest closure rate of anybody. And I'm not saying
some people that change their lives. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a tough sell. We all know from having served missions.
Yeah.
Summer salespeople and missionaries deal with rejection to a degree that most young people have never encountered, or probably wouldn't care to encounter. I could say survive, but that's difficult. And so they have a perseverance and a determination level that's higher and unique for their subset of young adults. And lastly, just work ethics. This is hard work. And so I love those attributes in an entrepreneur, and they seem to be at a little higher than average population here in the Utah County area. And so those young people, that's who I want to partner with. That's who I want running my companies. And what I would go back to, what I'm looking for is hunger. Somebody who wants to conquer the world, a young Corbin Church, if you will. I don't say that arrogantly, but when I was in college, I wanted to conquer the world. I was eager to go out and make it happen. I see that in young people, and that's what I'm looking for, the hunger and the desire. I can help them with the skills they lack, the knowledge they lack. I can help them get over hurdles. I can't instill hunger into somebody. those traits that we've been talking about for the last few minutes, you either have those or you don't. It's hard for me to instill those, Dave.
Mhm. And so I mentioned SGlass is one company where you did this really effectively, I think, early on. So this is Mike Jones's technology, augmented reality for sign. It'll put sign language in the middle of someone's field of vision. So there's an adorable video online of this little girl at Universal Studios using the glasses and being able to like look around like everyone else is doing for the first time, which is great.
Yeah.
Hey, have you seen that clip?
Yes, absolutely. Great
Oh
clip.
yeah. Yeah, and so Corey Hawker is one student that you brought into that. He's the president of the company now, I think. And then Tom, whose name I'm forgetting before, was involved. Is that right?
Wilkinson.
Wilkinson, thank you. So how did you help those two, for example?
Corey was a student of mine early on when I started teaching at BYU. Thomas was somebody I met. He was the one that taught me about summer sales. I'd never heard of it, didn't know what it was. And when I heard the kind of money that he was making doing summer sales, quite frankly, I was astounded. I had no idea that a college student could make that kind of money. We put some money together and we went to the TTO and said, let's find an idea. And brought Corey in, who was an exceptional young man, student at the time, and said, let's partner. Let's bring money and talent together and let's create a business. We settled on sign glasses, Dr. Jones technology, because we saw this great need. Deaf and hard of hearing students are at such a disadvantage because their interpreter's over here, but the instructor's here and he's writing on the board or doing something. Every time the deaf and hard of hearing student looks over here to see what the instructor's saying, they're missing everything that's being written on the board and what's happening. Tremendous disadvantage. That technology allowed them to keep looking at the professor and to see that interpreter right here in my glasses. It's growing really well. It'll do, this year, we anticipate topping 4 million in revenues, perhaps getting as close as 5. So growing very nicely, handsomely profitable, great business. And Corey's a fantastic leader, doing a really good job. And again, came right out of school. He was a business student and has taken the reins. I would say he's learned tremendously more running that business than he learned in his 4 years at BYU. So he's getting that second and third degree now, running a business and doing great.
Yeah, and I've seen him from start to finish a little bit. I've interacted with him a bit, and he is impressive. Like, in the business,
you've seen the growth, right? You've seen tremendous growth in a young person.
Yes, absolutely. Just from occasional check-ins. So we talked about your class that you teach here a little bit. You encounter hundreds of students. How do you know who's going to have that kind of promise? How do you pick out winners, or what are the best attributes for a student, I guess?
You know, it's not from standing in front of an audience of 300 people teaching and getting feedback, not getting feedback, but getting input from them. It's the ones who make one-on-one appointments. It's those who come up and ask me, what do I do in this situation? What do I do here? And you can see the eagerness. They're making one-on-ones and they're coming in and they have ideas and they're asking, what's my next step? The most common question I get, I've done this, what's my next step? And I am so happy to answer that question and guide them down the road to success. But if you're not asking the questions, then there's no answer and you're not moving forward. What frustrates me about my class is I have 300 out of 350 students there to get a grade. And life is right there. Life, you're on the doorstep of life and you're still worried about a grade. Now, if you're going to graduate school, medical school, something like that, you've got to have good grades, you've got to do all that. But what about learning? You're sitting in this classroom and you're multitasking because you're trying to get stuff done. But at the end of the day, it's the grade that you're worried about. Step back and learn. Value learning versus value the grade. And so I see it when people make one-on-ones with me and they're moving forward and they're not there for the grade. They are there to start a business. You don't become an entrepreneur after you get your degree. You can become an entrepreneur right now, today, any day, anybody. You don't wait to do this. It's a go now thing. And the students that grasp that vision, they show me they've got it. And so that's what I'm looking for, is those that go that little bit of extra effort They're not just sitting in the classroom. They're looking for time outside the classroom. That's what I like.
Wow. I've seen completely the same thing. If people go to the trouble of just visiting tech transfer, they got to find us. We're not easy to find, like tucked away in the library. But if they find our office and come visit, I'm pretty sure they're a winner already. Because just recently I had Ryan Hagerty, he's a BYU student. He was in here a few times asking questions and so on. And next thing I know, I look and he's winning the Student Innovator of the Year competition. You know, he's just out there hustling like these guys do.
Awesome.
So great. And you had mentioned a minute ago, summer sales. I should just reference for people, since we're not giving your full background here. You did on Case Studies, the podcast by Casey Baugh. You talked about your history a little bit and talked about summer sales, and it's important there too, right?
Yeah, okay. I just think that is missionary work, phase 2, version 2, and just continues to steel a young person to create their mettle and help them become strong and teaches them attributes. It's not for everyone. It's really difficult stuff. I didn't do it, but I see a lot of people, young people doing it today, and I'm impressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. So you're mentoring these students, a lot of students you're giving good advice to. Did you have a mentor that got you started when you were a young entrepreneur?
I did.
Okay.
When I was very first in business, my sophomore year at BYU, there was this gentleman in Grand Junction, Colorado by the name of Jim Chapman. And I was too young to be doing what I was doing. And my peers in this business were far older, far more experienced. Sure. They had money, at least some resources, and I had none. I was a student. And Jim took me under his wings and mentored me to success, my first bigger success. I'm so appreciative of him to this day. What a great guy. And from there, I have two pretty notable names of people who mentored me. Larry Miller, the late Larry Miller, really good friend and man to me who took time to advise me. But probably my best and favorite was John Huntsman. John Huntsman was such an idol for me, but also took time with me to answer questions and be my friend and help me. You would think that people at that level, nearing billionaire and well into the billionaire status at the time, why would they take time with a young man? But they were willing and they did. Mentorship is critical. Dave, I'll just share, I read recently that a startup with a qualified mentor, so an expert, somebody that knows their space, helping them down that road, has a 70% increased chance of success at 5 years versus the startup that didn't have a mentor. That's a dramatic number. That's a big deal. So,
and should that be a business? So sorry, should that be a business mentor, or would a technical mentor fit as well?
A technical mentor, anybody that's an expert in your space. And I would say it's not about having one mentor. If I'm running a tech business, I might have a technical mentor, somebody who's a CTO or something at a company who's helping me with my tech. Then I might have a business mentor who's helping me get the business side of this going. And I might have other mentors down the road. Don't limit yourself. Reach out to the community and ask for help because they're there and willing to help.
This is so useful, like all these insights from you, Corbin, because I'm always interested in good information that's not written down anywhere. Yeah. And so with Larry Miller and John Huntsman, I could read autobiographies by either one of them, I believe. But what's something, excuse me, that they taught you that isn't written down anywhere?
The one thing that John taught me was the importance of giving back. And with one of our businesses, we had a give back, and we partnered with the Huntsman Cancer Institute. And my business grew. Now, I can't give you a definitive number, but I would attribute a quarter to a third of my business's growth. And we're talking a business that was growing like a wildflower back in 2007 to 10. Yeah. Because of what we were doing in cancer and giving back, and it was very visible to the world, that grew our business dramatically. I didn't do it to grow the business. It wasn't for selfish desires. When we started that business, my father had passed away from pancreatic cancer just 3 months before we started. And so that's why I directed it toward cancer. It was very sensitive to me. It was raw at the time. And that's why I went there. And it was coming off what John had taught me about you give back. The resources that you receive, those are a responsibility, not a prize. and your responsibility is to bless the lives of others. And that's what I did. And gosh, even though I was trying to be selfless, I had selfish returns. It's incredible. That wasn't the purpose, but it turned out to be even better.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I can see that in the technologies you choose for these businesses as well. Like you explained, sign glasses. This is to help people, deaf people, so they can have a better experience. Or chair fix would be another example. You're going after, and when you were describing sunglasses a minute ago, you focused on the problem. Like that's what drew you to the technology. And fortunately, the tech is a good solution as well. But
Yeah.
is that fair? Like how do you look for the right technology for a business?
In fairness, I don't look for the opportunity to help people. That
Okay.
sounds really great if I could brag and say I'm only looking for things that bless other people's lives.
Yeah.
It's really great when you find a technology that blesses somebody's life and can be an incredible business opportunity.
Right.
But I am a capitalist. I am a businessman.
Right.
And when I look at an opportunity, I'm looking for how far can this go? I'm looking for something that can go into the tens of millions and top $100 million in revenue and value. And so I am looking for opportunities that have runway and an impressive trajectory to them, not that bless other people's lives. That's an add-on in which I say, oh, wow. With Vibri, the chair fix, we have a product from the tech transfer office, which, wow, does it have a runway? And perhaps as excited about this technology as any that I have from you. I have 3. And it is really going to bless the lives of those with addictions and anxiety. And I'm super happy to be able to bless their lives, but it's also a gigantic space where there's a lot of need and it's going to generate a lot of revenues. So double benefit.
Yeah. Well, and that's fair. Like I was speaking with a venture capitalist the other day who's in the kind of eco-friendly products area, and they were focusing very much on their kind of ideology, like we want to save the world and so on. And he said, but they have to be businesses, they have to make money. I mean, that's step one, or you've got nothing, right?
Yeah. How are you going to grow this? How are you
Right.
going to get it out to all these people whose lives you're going to bless if it's not a successful venture? When it's a successful venture and it's blessing people's lives, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely. So for a BYU student or any student, if you're starting out and you're hearing this and you're like, okay, I can do that. I'm interested, but I don't know anything. I don't know any major mentors or anything like that. Where should someone start?
Well, do you mind if I give a plug for what we're creating right now?
Yeah, do. That'd be great.
We are creating a nonprofit incubator in Utah County. It will open on March 15th. So by the time some of you are listening to this, IHub will be open. IHub is short for the Innovation Hub Foundation. Again, a nonprofit incubator. We have currently 106 mentors. Our goal by the end of this year is to be at 1,000. I want a mentor in every category of expertise. These are people who will give their time and talents, and we'll have a database of them, and we'll help hook you up with a person who can move you forward. If you have a validated idea, I can't be helping every entrepreneur. I got to see a little more than that before we put you out with a mentor, because that could jeopardize the status of that mentor if they have a bad experience. So balancing both sides. But this incubator is a place where young startups, young entrepreneurs in Utah County, whether BYU, UVU, or non-student, can come and develop their business with mentors backing them, legal, accounting, continuing education, pitch assistance, pitch events. All these things are there to help you move your business forward. And you can get more information on that by visiting ihubutah.org. And it's just a place where there's a lot of resources for any young entrepreneur. And so, Dave, that's a great place where somebody who comes into the TTO gets excited about an idea. They need to go validate that idea. They need to be sure that it's a real opportunity. Once it's validated, come to IHub. Let us help you progress that opportunity forward.
And physically, where is IHub located?
doTERRA, the founders of doTERRA, generously gave us 15,000 square feet in their headquarters. And we're there setting up furniture today as we record this broadcast. But it's in doTERRA. It's really nice. And how generous of them to provide that to us at no expense, free of charge.
Wow. That's fantastic. So, and let me fill in one gap there. So if someone came to Tech Transfer, found a student-friendly technology, we have plenty of those. Next, they need to validate. And one way to do that would be to talk to Taylor Halverson over in the business school. He'll give validation grants. They're, I think, $500 each.
Yep.
And then you can do your validation. What would be good, solid validation for you?
Good, solid validation. When we read Nail It, Then Scale It by Nathan Furr and Paul Ahlstrom, that's a great book that explains it. It's not a textbook. It's a solid learning and teaching experience of how to validate an idea. We get excited about an idea, and that's the first mistake. An idea is a hypothesis until it's been validated. So the process of validation is going out and talking to your consumer. One, it'll determine if you're talking to the right person. And then the book says you need 50% of those people to say, that solution would solve my pain and I would buy that. Well, I like to say 70%, Dave. What I've found is at 50%, I have too many people who aren't being completely honest with me. They love me. They want to be supportive of this young student and they see him trying, him or her. Well, the best thing you can do is be honest and tell me it's a bad idea, but they don't always do that. So I put my threshold a little higher. If you get 70% of the people you talk to say, this would solve that problem and I really like your idea. Have you thought of this? And they start making your product better. And remember, this is the consumer making my product better. That's when you know you've got a check mark in the positive column. You talk to 40, 50, I've seen students talk to 200 plus people. And then you know you have something that's going to go if 70% say yes. If it's down in the 10, 20, 30% range, move on. If it's 40, 50, 60%, pivot, tweak, make a few changes, let's get it up there. And you've got something. But that's what we're looking for. And that's when you know, keep working on this. If not, let's scrap it and go to the next idea. We want to fail fast and fail cheap.
Yeah, and so if you go to the Tech Transfer website, there are probably 50 technologies up there. There are probably another 600 or so that aren't up there. It's hard to keep it updated, and it's many things are non-public for one reason or another. So if students don't find something on there they like, they should come talk to us in person.
Good to know.
Plenty of things to potentially validate. Assuming they find one, then they talk to you. And at IHub, they'll have office space, and it's a solution. Many students wonder, how am I going to handle accounting and legal and all these things that seem hard? But this is a potential solution for that, right?
Yeah, we have many community partners donating their time, legal expertise, IP legal expertise, accounting expertise, leadership training, sales training, a lot of incredible stuff going on. We're going to have Shark Tank-like events where people can pitch to raise capital for their business, just typical pitch events. We're going to make this very fun. And most importantly, probably, is mentoring. And second to that is networking. We have a weekly networking event, Dave, where the community is going to be invited, but all of our entrepreneurs will get together, and you sit at a table of 8. And if you know any of the other 7 people at that table, you can't sit there. You need to go to a table where 7 people you don't know are seated, join them. And the idea is intelligence is critical. We have to be smart, but eventually what you know gets trumped by who you know. And so we need to get you knowing, we need to build your network so that you have resources for when you have questions. So networking becomes really, really important. And we have a weekly networking event to grow everybody's network base.
When students ask about networking, I remember being a student and just figuring out networking, and it was very intimidating to me when someone's just starting to talk to people who are impressive to them, professionals, what tips do you give them? How do you network effectively?
The first thing is well, you got to find the mentor, but or networking. A great way to do this is through entrepreneur interviews. This is an assignment I give in my class, and I say, look, no busy work here. I'm not going to waste your time. This is the most real assignment you will do this semester and when the semester ends. And so they have to go out and interview an entrepreneur for about 30 minutes and then write a one-page paper with 4 takeaways, 4 things they learned from talking to that networking person, that entrepreneur. Well, you never stop doing this. You go into a business and you detect that the person talking to you is the owner of the business. You simply conduct an interview by saying, do you by chance own this business? Yeah, I figured you did. Tell me about it. I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm really excited about it. I'm studying it right now. Do you like owning your own business? Yeah, cool. What can you share with me? What are some of the benefits? Yeah. What about the drawbacks? What do you not like about being an entrepreneur? What tips could you give me as I go down this road? And the interesting thing, Dave, is nearly 100% of those interviews, and that one was on the fly. The assignment, it's a little more organized, but these on the fly, these people will say, hey, Dave, when you're ready to get that business started, you're welcome to give me a call or stop in. I'd love to help you out, help you answer questions or whatever. I think it's great that you're looking at this path. Yeah. Boom. We just added somebody to our network. And so that entrepreneur interview, being an extrovert, talking to people, that's how we build that network, and it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that's new to students. In this class of yours that you teach with the entrepreneurship students, what are the students typically surprised to learn? What's something that they don't expect to know going in?
That you do not wait to become an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Students start businesses as freshmen and sophomores. And we have so many students operating businesses out of their apartments doing $8,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month in revenue. These are a lot of digital marketing businesses through buying products off Alibaba or something. But if you're going to practice medicine, you should go to medical school before you start cutting into somebody. Yeah. Law school probably should pass the bar and get a law degree. But entrepreneurism, let's get started right now. There are so many students with pretty remarkable success stories while they're going to school. Yeah, I would say all business students should launch a business of some type, right? Why not? Agreed. So good. Well, just as kind of concluding thoughts, what are some lessons, what are some insightful lessons you've learned or clever things that you've done or seen other entrepreneurs do? Right now, I love this business in the Provo. It's right now just in Utah County, and it's growing now to Salt Lake City, but it's called Savor Eats. One of my TAs started this business. His first business was a restaurant. He started Bun Boys, and he was a customer of this business and ended up buying their business. But Savor Eats is a very unique marketing platform for restaurants where they discount menu items by 50% when they want to. If you get a coupon in the mail, I can use my $2 off at Papa Murphy's anytime I want, right? Yeah. This platform called Savor allows anybody in the area to get pinged when restaurants are discounting their food. So they're typically going to do this in the middle afternoon hours or later at night when they're closing and they have excess food. They'll send their food out discounted by 50%. And considering inflation today and how expensive it is to eat out, this makes eating out a bargain, and the restaurants are in control of when they're discounting food. So from 2 to 4 p.m., I've got employees standing around. Well, let's keep them busy by putting up some food. Not going to lose any money, and I'm getting new users into my restaurant. It's a win-win. He's growing like mad. I really like that one. I think its prospects are very high. Corbin, but there are a lot of things you could do with your life. You could go sit on a beach somewhere. You could become a professional, something. You've chosen startups. Why? It gets me out of bed in the morning. Dave, I love what I do. I am energized by starting and making businesses succeed. I'm energized by helping young people do the same. I find more joy in that than sitting on the beach. My ADHD wouldn't allow me to sit on the beach. And so I fly out of bed every morning quite excited for my day because I'm creating. And I really believe it's going to keep me young as long as I'm in the creation mode versus the rot away mode. I just love it. It's super fun. And watching young people succeed brings me a lot of satisfaction when I have nothing involved, nothing to gain.
Yeah. Well, I got to say on the tech transfer side, I feel a lot the same way. I'm excited to get in here and see what our startups are doing. Thanks for all you're doing, Corbin, and thanks for taking the time today to talk about it.
Dave, great to be with you. Thanks for having me. Enjoy your day.
Yeah.